This is an RNZ podcast.
Kia ora and welcome to the Kim Hill Collection. This interview is from 2008. JJ Joseph is a man who quite viciously assaulted his wife and had to attend a court-ordered program. And this program helped JJ to reform himself. He then wrote a book examining male violence, particularly domestic violence, and how to combat it as a society. The foreword to the book was written by the late Celia Lashlie, a long-time prison officer who became well known for her books about raising adolescent boys. Celia joins JJ in the studio. This is a really challenging, poignant interview. It discusses domestic violence in some detail, so do be judicious about whether or not you listen to it. By Kim's admission, it gets off to a pretty rocky start, but hang in there. It's really worth it.
2 years ago, JJ Joseph was convicted of a violent assault on his wife. And then, against the odds, he turned his life around. It's not a common story, but he proves that it is possible, albeit not easy. JJ has written an account of it in a book called Fighting for My Life. The foreword to the book has been written by Celia Lashlie because she says real progress on violence will only happen when men speak out against it. Both Celia Lashlie and JJ Joseph join me now. Hi, how are you both? Kia ora, welcome.
Morning.
Let me ask you first, Celia, bring me up to date on your Good Man project. Where are you at on that?
I'm continuing to work talking to schools around Australia now and doing some work in New Zealand, but the main part of the Good Man project for me is that schools have picked it up. And in line with the business of men needing to stand up and speak about violence, I did the Good Man project I was agreed to do it as a woman's view of explaining to other women about the world of men, but my contention is now men need to pick it up. So I'm having discussions with some men in New Zealand about their need to... there's some more work to be done, but it's time men did it, not women.
You mean speaking out, saying it's not okay, as the advertisement puts it?
Well, not only the whole range of it for me. So this is up one end about men actually saying good men don't hit, good men don't engage in violence. But right down the other end is about men being involved in the lives of their sons, men defining what the rites of passage for manhood are, not women. So there's a lot of stuff being driven by women's voices. Women say men should, and I hear that all the time. We are constantly saying men should. And so I've had my go at saying this is what the world of boys and men look like. Now, men, pick it up. I'm not doing the next, but you guys do it. And
JJ picking it up?
JJ's picked it up and carrying it. JJ's actually, in my view, when I was approached to do the forward, never hesitated because it's the issue of staying focused on when men decide to do it differently. Men who've been caught in a pattern of behaviour and who stand up and despite the pain, the guilt and the fear that comes with it, they decide to do it differently, and he's done that.
Let's cut to the chase, JJ. The assault that you committed on your wife was what?
It was...
You hit her with a spade, yeah?
Yeah.
It was a serious assault.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. There's no hedging from that. It's hard for you to sit in that space.
Oh, for sure.
But it was a serious assault.
It was serious, yeah.
And at what point did you realise that the way you'd been living, which involved drugs and it involved violence, was not okay, actually? Did it require that level of violence to bring you around?
Yeah, it's a horrible thing, and of course, that is what brought it around.
Because the point you make is that the way you were brought up with violence. You thought it was normal, did you?
No, I didn't think it was normal. I always tried to do right. It's just I can't explain it. I don't want to have to because I was brought up in that type of life that it was normal. I don't totally agree with that. I thought I could always have a bit of insight through seeing what happened in me and my brother's life when we were young to realise. Always thought in my life I'd never do that. I'd seen the pain.
Yeah.
I've held my mother and seen her cry and tried to work as a 3-person family like stated in the book. And no way did I ever think it was normal and I'm going to be like that. I think at this point you just get angry. I just didn't think. I have no excuses. Like, I've taken full responsibility. What's in the book?
That was one of the interesting things I wanted to ask you about, that you've seen all that. You've held your mother. You went through all that dreadful stuff when you were a kid. You would think, common sense would say, that you'd run a mile from repeating that.
Yeah.
Can you explain how it happens?
Well, maybe not necessarily. Like, you asked me the question. I understand what you're getting at.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying. I guess there's probably a whole range of people that. Like, I'm not a psychic. I can't tell you what goes on in the minds of a man that would do that. Of course, I'd love to have run a mile. Of course, I would love to have taken a deep breath and had a time out and thought, hey, this is time when you go, But I don't know. Maybe it could be training through what I've seen through my life. No guidance, but I can't keep going on to why I didn't run.
And
only because...
one of the admirable things about your book is you don't make excuses.
Yeah, well, that's it. I could give you a whole lot of crap, let's say. Yeah. But I can't let it go to the audience that I'm making excuses for my behaviour. I can only... Yeah, I think you know. Yeah.
And that's quite a difficult thing, isn't it, Celia? Between understanding...
Yep.
And making excuses.
Yes, and I guess, JJ and I have had several conversations, and also I've talked to others, and it seems to me my analysis is that children watch and see stuff, and they sit in the middle of that, and they want to do it differently, and they remember the pain. But once they come to adulthood, the unfortunate thing for us as adults is that in moments of stress, we revert to what we know. And so we have all of this learned behaviour sitting in the back of our head. And this is not the psychologist would put it in much more better terms than me, but it's as if in the moment of stress we reach back and we go to what we've learned. And
it's not as if that's a hard concept to understand.
No.
I mean, I don't think there's a person who would deny that we repeat patterns of some kind, even to the point of, the partners we choose.
Well, absolutely. And I mean, the best one for me is the number of times as a 55-year-old woman that I hear my mother's voice come out of my mouth, which is incredibly frightening at times.
That's a shock,
it's that kind of the things I thought I'd never say. So, and the thing that, and JJ's right, the thing that I would... the thing that I would concentrate on, and that the reason that I'm, advocating for the book, is that here we've got a situation where he makes no excuses. He stands up and says, "I did this, and I hate that I did this, and now the question is, what do I do about it?" And something's brought him to the place of the level of hate for what he felt himself do, and the level of guilt and he's taken the hard decision, which is to move through that shit actually and out the other side.
Like it's hard to get. I was thinking last night that if I had a bit of a game plan, or one how to word it, because it's hard to keep trying to explain my book and all that.
I know.
And to go on to it, I think that book, when I started writing it, it made me remember my childhood, which for whatever reasons I blocked out. And
so it was a painful experience writing the book, or a...
Oh, it sure was. For the main things is I forgot what it was like to be a kid, I always thought I'd write a book when I was younger. It's just through, maybe it was like for my brother and I to go through and seeing a lot of stuff happen in our house, and to have to live with it, thinking that no one's out there that cares about us or anything like that. But I didn't really think that later on in life I'd actually be a lead character on it. And I was that little boy in the room, young, crying, I think I might have, those things were that painful for me back then. That when I started writing to it, all the emotions of when I was young come through. And that's been like the biggest sticking point to realise what kind of pains I would have put my kids through if nothing changed.
How are your kids now?
They're wonderful.
Yeah?
They really are. I'm glad they were, glad 3 of them are a lot younger. They didn't see very little. But I won't be silly to say they didn't see nothing. And I can't change what happened back then. But been home a year now, and everything's wonderful. I got the anger and the fight's not in me. I was saying on the newspapers and all that, I feel like a shell of a man, which I was talking to Cecilia, and then I think, that sounds pretty stink, you know. I done a radio phone to a reporter, and it sounded like I was nothing positive, or she asked me, is things positive now? I said, yes, but I feel like a shell of a man, and it kind of, to me, I thought, that was a silly answer. Like, for what I thought was strong and a staunch man and all that, it's, I didn't mean to say a shell of a man, but I hate myself for what I'd done. They tell me that I need to forgive myself and learn from the mistake, which I can never, it's hard for me to do.
You can't forgive yourself?
Hell no, you know.
Has your wife forgiven you?
Well, she's stuck with me all this time. She could, you know, I tell her, I don't want to get into talking about much about her, but she'd have to love me and stay with me.
She has a right to privacy. One of the really interesting things about your book is that you're writing it in real time.
Yeah.
So you convey exactly how you were thinking when you were back there in the dark days committing the violence. And what you were thinking was, she's not doing something for me. You're blaming her. She's not talking to you. She's not giving you enough love. When in fact nobody could have given you enough love, right?
Yeah.
You were a black hole.
Well, I had to love myself, you know. That seems a bit vain and it's not really the right word. I had to find my self-worth. I had to find my happiness. I had to deal with my past.
What is your self-worth? Do you know? Can you explain that to me?
No.
How have you gone from feeling worthless to feeling like you have a value?
Well, I don't even give myself that leeway, you know. I don't really know what I'm good at. I don't know my value. The only thing that kind of gets me by nowadays is I'm content with myself, you know. Whether it be whatever I am, I can deal with and stop beating up and stop trying to hurt myself. And
wouldn't it be true, JJ, that the other thing that we've talked about is that you talk about the shell of the man, and that's really a poignant expression, but the thing that I have heard in talking to you is who you are now is you're a husband and you're a father.
Yeah,
and that's where you've come full circle to understanding that they actually hold the essence of who you are. Would that be true?
They're so true. Without them, and you're not supposed to say without them I'm nothing. You know, people say you got to, you know, I have to learn that I am something, and there are a lot of good things in me which I don't need to talk about on radio. But I need my family. I love my family, and I just got to keep working at it till I die.
You giving up the drugs?
Yeah, love it. Actually, being straight is a buzz on itself.
You started doing drugs at a ridiculously young age.
Yeah, don't we all? No.
I don't know.
I think I finally lost my nerves.
12 years old. You know, was that common in your sphere of society?
No, well, maybe I wouldn't say common. Not even.
It is
in our neighbourhood.
It is now,
Celia.
Yeah.
And my sense is, I mean, average middle class kid, will not touch the heavier stuff. But I would guarantee almost every child in New Zealand has the opportunity to access cannabis in the first year of secondary school, and they've certainly been dabbling with alcohol before then. Yeah. Because parents don't pay attention to what's in the alcohol cabinet. So we can talk about it being that, that class of people or that group of people, but the work I'm doing now would tell me that it's usually as they enter adolescence that the first experimentation takes place.
Yeah.
Anything, just try escape, one stage or another.
Not just youthful experimentation, but actually trying to escape. Because you were having a horrible time.
Yeah. It sounds like a cop-out to turn to drugs. I enjoyed it, I guess, back then too, would be another thing.
Give yourself a break, I mean, exactly right. Yeah. But then, what did you end up doing in terms of drugs?
Oh, just like it was stated in the book, just kind of tried everything like everyone else, Drugs isn't a big thing that I like to go on about.
No.
I don't do drugs now. And,
what was the hardest thing for you?
In what aspect?
To turn things around. What was
my life?
Yeah. What was the hardest thing?
The hardest thing was trying to live my life try to do everything opposite than my father done, to try to keep myself in check that I didn't end up like him, to provide for my family and to try to love them the best I could, to actually ending up like my father, having some outside forces tell me I can't see my kids, to lose every right I had with my family, to end up having nothing, to trying to get some outside help or my family help and get put up at my grandmother's, who I love so much, to having no
Thank
rights at
heavens
all.
for your grandmother, actually.
For sure, from, having everything, which I thought probably wasn't a case of not having enough. It was just I still wasn't happy, thinking I had all the problems in the world, to actually having everything taken off me. And I think, what else is there to make someone change their life?
Let's talk about your father for a minute, because that's a really interesting story. After all his domestic violence, he died a hero, yeah? Tell me about that.
No, I don't even like talking about that. I've got to have respect for the dead, He's gone.
He went protecting a woman during an incident of domestic violence.
Yeah.
That's the irony of it, isn't it?
Well, yes, yeah. Strange, but... yeah.
Do you feel compassion for him now when you think about him?
Oh, yeah, I forgave him a long time ago, only because it was killing me. It was killing me, hating him. It was no good. I could never get what I wanted from him. It's already... could never trust him. But at the end of the day, he was still my father, I didn't get to know him before he died, so... I don't know. It was hard. I don't think about him. I really don't.
After your assault on Jennifer...
Yeah.
in which her arm was broken, her kidney was torn, she had a ruptured spleen, you were arrested. You ended up doing a course called Living Without Violence.
Yeah.
What did that teach you? Was it a court-recommended course?
Yeah, it was.
Right. What was it?
It was a course of, let's say, about 16 guys, and they'd all seem to go once a week. It starts at different times, so you never really got to meet anyone. But it was...
To begin with, were you wholehearted about it, or were you thinking at any point, this will look good in court?
No, it wasn't even... I had to do it, or else I'd be arrested. I wasn't wholehearted, I was scared. I was no way in denial, thinking I didn't need the help. So, there were a lot of guys there that... thinking, why aren't there courses for women to do? Because my woman gives me such a hard time, she probably deserved what she got.
What's your answer to that?
Well, I guess like most normal New Zealand answers, I don't want to judge him, I had to take a step back and just let him say his piece. If he firmly believed that, well, maybe he'll have to go that course in a couple of years' time when he maybe can understand. I don't know, I loved it. Be honest, it was quiet for the first time, and not one.
You loved it from the beginning.
Well, no, maybe give it the first time. It was just initially once I started, it was hard. No, I didn't love it, but after the first time,
Yeah.
there was a whole lot. You felt like not actually secure, but there was a whole group of guys that done the same thing. It's not like going to a book club or something, and you got this big deep secret and all that. They had all done similar things, if not worse, or they're still continuing to do the same things. But out of a group of about 16, there were a couple there that maybe wanted to change, and there were volunteers there that volunteered themselves to the course to learn something, and I kind of admired those guys, because there is a lot of help out there, but that don't listen to me or my book. I didn't go out there one day when I felt miserable and I thought I was going to do that heinous thing, that I'd go find some help. It was pushed on to me.
Yeah.
I couldn't change that. But there were some good guys in there, and there were some valuable lessons in there, which I don't want to ramble off what they were, but I ended up telling Jennifer, I said, oh God, I got to go see the cookies tonight to do my course. And she'd go, oh babe, don't say that. And then a couple of weeks later I said, no, they're my bad brothers, with bad problems, and they're trying to work through it. It was kind of nice to have some similar stories, and a lot of the stories would go back to childhood learnings or what they'd seen. We all kind of had a similar story of seeing a lot of violence or seeing a lot of trouble there, and they finally had a group of men that understood, if you weaned out the 14 that were all total denial about what they do and all that. I found a couple of guys that were on the same wavelength. And the hardest thing about that course was understanding like the lines they teach you. I'd be thinking, shit, that's all foreign to me, That's like I'm trying to jump on the train of what they're trying to get at, and I think I can't really make sense of it. And I talked to one of the two others that they'd kind of say, "Oh, Jay, we're talking about this type of direction, you know, this feeling or this emotion." That
So when they start talking to you about negative self-talk,
yeah,
did you get that to begin with?
oh yeah, a little bit of it, you know, because it's been a big part of my life. I guess
Yeah.
everyone has. So it was just little aspects. I don't mean to go dumb on you, but then I'd straight away just kind of click, and I'd see the light come on. I think, oh shit, you guys are in that kind of direction. And then when I started thinking a bit more, it'd be one of those courses you'd learn something, I wouldn't quite understand it, and then I'd be driving home from the course or wake up in the morning, I think, oh God, that's kind of, you know, what they were on about.
A counselling report said that you were in a rare 2% of offenders who were truly sorry for what they'd done. That's not very many. You know, you were in a huge minority, which all credit to you, but I find that statistic depressing, Celia.
Except, yeah, but the thing that's if you, and this is where we run foul a lot of the time, and a lot of the initiatives we put in the country in terms of justice, violence and crime, that's operating on a continuum from 0 to 10. And okay, we've got 2%, so the course is a failure because only 2%. Life's not a straight line. Life's a circle. Now, JJ, I just picked up then, he very carefully mentioned that in that course, there was one of his fellas said, you know, why doesn't my missus go to the course? She winds me up, and so she deserves it when I smack her.
Yeah.
Which I imagine was basically the conversation. Now, that person, there may be one seed that person lodges in their brain when they do the course the first time, and they need to grow in awareness. And so it's a cyclical journey. Now, JJ was in a position where, because of where he'd taken his head, he was totally responsive after the first class when he realised, because, I mean, there'd be big stuff about, I'm dumb, I can't do this, you know, I'm scared, I'll be made embarrassed, all of that. And he found like-minded men. Now, so he was lucky, if you like, or who he is as a person took him up into that top 2%. But it's really important for us not to say the rest of the other, 98%, don't work. It's how they might have to they might have to tread that circle 3 times. And then the light comes on. And we build social policy around the light has to come on in the first 10 minutes so we can evaluate it and claim credit for it. And that's the nonsense, whereas this is demonstrating. It's a long journey. And every one of the men, JJ has just told us that every one of the men in the course had childhood violence. That's where our work needs to be. But that's where we need to get a hell of a lot better. We can put the stuff up the top end of family violence courts, and we can do the stuff. And this is magnificent. This is men standing up. But we've got to get down here. We've got to get to the 3-year-olds who are coming out of violent situations. And we have to instruct women. This is the part that I'm hot on. We have to get women. We have to look at them and say, you stay with that bastard, your kids are going to die. Or they're going
On the other hand, I'm talking to Celia Lashlie and J.J. Joseph, who's written a book about his turnaround from violence, Fighting for My Life. On the other hand, J.J., if Jennifer had said to you, out, I never want to see you again, end, would you have turned around? Did she need to stick with you in order for you to turn around? This is contrary to the conventional wisdom, Celia, I think. Huh?
Yeah, I hear your question. No, I think I honestly would have turned around myself. It was like a breaking point inside myself, But
come earlier. Go in the book. JJ talks about a moment where his mother chose to have his father return to the house.
Yeah.
Now, that's a really hard thing for JJ to deal with, because he loves his mother deeply, and it doesn't want to leave blame with her. But as an outside woman looking in, there's a poignant moment where a woman, for her own reasons, very valid reasons, chose to take an abuser back into the house when a little 6-year-old boy was in there.
Thereby failing to protect the child.
Thereby setting up a pattern, it doesn't all sit with her, and JJ has made choices throughout his adult life, and he's making one now. So I'm not excusing the behaviour, and nor is he. But I'm interested in going back to that crucial point where women make unwise decisions, putting their needs and men's needs before their children's needs.
I think once I forgot about, or just put away my life as a young fellow and what I seen, and the times holding my brother, crying, wondering, what's going on. Once I really realised that, even if Jennifer never took me back and I was alone, for that sake alone, I need to be, and I don't want to go the cliche and let they say a role model for my kids, but there is nothing that I could do so wrong would be to teach my kids what I had learnt, or to raise, for the biggest thing for my life now, aside from Jennifer, because I love her and I can't say sorry enough, the book's for her, but if I can't, I'd be an ass. I'd be a really stink guy, that I could destroy 3 young boys and have a young little daughter.
But hey, it happens,
Oh, for sure, but
You
I
must
have to
have
figure out what in my life, what it's all about my life, And
Do you think, JJ,
Yeah.
that it's possible for everybody to turn themselves around? Or did you meet guys on the course or in the process of your life that are beyond help?
I wouldn't say anyone's beyond help, Like Cecilia mentioned, it might have to go around 2 or 3 times or something to maybe get it. But I don't know. If you really want to change, you'd change.
I'm trying to, because there will be people out there listening to you and they'll be thinking, yeah, well, he wasn't hardcore. There are hardcore guys out there that there are beyond help. But, you obviously, were quite a good guy underneath it all. There will be that kind of separation. Do you know what I mean?
I do, and I would strongly, if anyone's listening is begin to think that, allow me, someone who's been 15 years in jails and who's worked in the system, JJ was hardcore. Don't make it nice in the sense of, oh well, he's different.
And even if I was South Coast, sorry, Cecilia, to my little kids and to my wife, it was nothing, for a little kid seeing any kind of yelling or any kind of abuse in their eyes, which I finally learned, when me thinking I wasn't much, for what they would have known their father at the time, they would have been scared, so you wouldn't have to be hardcore or softcore to actually scare a little kid, you know what I mean, or scare a frail woman,
And we need the jails for the hardcore who choose not to change, because that's the piece to keep inserting along the journey of whatever kind of offending you're doing, and violent offending or criminal offending. My experience is that we have to constantly insert the moment, despite the history, despite the chaos of the background, despite the excuses that could be made. Our job, those of us who are maintaining the system and working it, is to keep inserting, and today you choose, and today you choose, and today you choose. So you had a terrible life, but in the aftermath of this assault on Jennifer, JJ stood up and in that moment chose to do it differently. Now, we need the hardcore people, the people who want the hardcore violent offenders locked up. Absolutely fine. Prison waits for them. We have to get very skilled at what we do with them in prison, a lot more skilled than we are now. But the issue is to continually offer people the opportunity, and today you choose. You like this life. And so the writing people off New Zealanders are very good at that. Middle class New Zealand is fantastic at writing people off as being beyond hope, because that takes them off the hook. And I won't let them get off the hook. It's ours. It's our problem. But keep giving people choices. And JJ, again, my reason for to backing this is he's made a choice. He stood in a moment. He looked at the horror of what he'd done and he made a choice.
I had a lot of times that I could have mucked up, A lot of times things seemed that hard, and I missed my family so much. I couldn't see no light at the end of the tunnel. Many times I'd lay in bed when I was away from my family because I had to be on home D, and just thinking, I was dying, I was thinking, how can I get through this, Is there ever going to be, I'll ever be back with my family? I'd lay down and think, why didn't I just cherish the times earlier before this happened? A lot of insight thought about what I could have done or should have done. A lot of times I just felt, I don't know, I was that wound up. That's why I wrote that book, to get a lot of emotions out of me. That many times I thought, not in case I want to die, just don't want to even talk about that. But I had a lot of times I could have mucked up, but I just kept on.
You were on home detention with your grandmother, eh?
Yeah.
And as we said before, thank heavens for your grandmother. She was a good
hell
woman.
yes.
What would you have done without her? Where would you have gone?
I would have ended up. I would have gone to jail.
See, that's. It's like everybody needs that one person that's going to take you in and enable you to make those choices. Yeah.
Yeah. For sure, and not judge you, because
it's a risk.
My case felt bad enough, but you need someone.
It's not always about taking in, though, the thing, again, for teachers listening and social workers, and I'm constantly talking about, it's about believing in somebody. Every one of us needs, there's a couple of things we need.
This is just to reassure people they don't have to make available their spare bedrooms.
Exactly. To take it into real context, it's when a 6-year-old walks into the classroom and the teacher's eyes flick at them and the teacher thinks, oh God, I've got another one from that family. You see, that's the stuff that the kids are often dealing with all the time. So every one of us deserves to know that there's someone who would step between us and the world. And I mean, I often talk about my kids, that I think they're the people they are partly because they know, even as both in their 30s, that I'd step between them and the world in a heartbeat. So everyone needs that. Everyone needs someone and who sees us as we truly are.
No matter what they do.
No matter what they do. And it doesn't mean that I would excuse their bad behaviour, and believe me, on several occasions, especially with that boy of mine, I haven't excused his bad behaviour. But It's not about that. It's about, I see the essence of who you are. I like and love the essence of who you are. And children want to know that little children find their way into the magic that's inside them when every one of them has a sense that there's one person on earth who believes in me, who truly sees me. And so it's not only about taking them in, it's about that everyone has the right to have someone who champions them in the moment that they have the option to make that choice. But it doesn't mean you make your spare bedroom available. It does mean that you act with moral courage and remove some of your bias when you look towards the kids that come out of some of these families. And take away that, pardon me, but that white middle class judgment that says, oh, it's those people, which we are rife in this country. And, it's just that shaking people out of that complacency. Yeah.
It hasn't been an easy, steady rise for you, JJ. There have been, as you've said, difficult times. I think you described a Christmas Day where things could have turned bad again and they didn't. Can you just talk me through that? How you avoid falling back again? What's in your head to stop you from falling right back into the old pattern?
I don't really want to talk about that because they could just read the book, but it's all through remembering my life as a young fella and the pains I'd seen and never trying to forget it. I think I spent all this time till it happened and I had to face up to it. It was looking deep inside myself. I thought I was a non-important person, which I'm a big influence on my kids and people around me, that I wanted to die all my life. Thought I had no self-worth and I was a piece of shit. Your brother
committed suicide, didn't he?
Yeah. And,
which was a huge pain for you.
Yeah, but I blocked that out for forever too, and he was right there with me when we were younger. I was only 3 years older than him. But it all comes back to keep me on the straight and narrow is those little kids of mine. It's gone bigger than Jennifer and me. I love her. I have to try just never scare her again. Just constantly, the main goal is not to scare her and not to scare my kids. And all I've gained now from this is to be content with myself, warts and all. It's embarrassing for me talking about it. People say I should be proud of what I've done. And I can't even give myself that, I hate it through the shame of being a little fella and what Dad done. To actually, I got workmates, a couple know I wrote a book, might be listening. The whole embarrassment of it is a big shame to me. That's why I think I feel like a shell of a man. And I don't want to go into the good things I feel, but everything that keeps me honest is because could be a threatening nature for if you live a whole life wanting to die, if you live your whole life wanting for people to try to kill you, because I was too weak to try to kill myself because of so much stuff that was going on in me.
That's what you say in the book. You wanted someone to kill you. You put yourself out there in order to die.
I've done it all my life, and yet sometimes I shake my head and wonder why I'm still here. And I tell you, to this day, I'm so glad I'm still here. I'm so glad I got a chance with my wife and my family, that I'm home.
Yeah.
And all that keeps me going is that I'm content with myself. That's about all. I'm sorry to keep saying it again. Like, I'll get back to the hotel and I'll think, oh God, I wish I would have said that, or I wish I would have shut up. And I just wanted to put it out there that I'm highly embarrassed. It's a big thing for me, I want it over and done with. I hope it helps someone through it, I didn't do it to help someone. I done it for a sorry to my wife and my kids. If they get older, they may want to read it. I can't wait till I get over this publicity bit and they forget about me.
You're not, you don't want to make a lifetime career out of being an evangelist for the cause of non-violence.
No, I want to, hell no.
You want to get back to your life.
Well, that's
your
the
new
real life year to date, and I just want to get along with my life with some better training and just try a whole life.
You realise that there'll be a lot of pressure on you, of course, to go out and talk to people and talk to schools and talk to guys and talk to the general community about how it's possible to turn your life.
Maybe it might be, I was like a bit naive, even when I thought I'd write a book. I never thought anyone would take it on. I don't want to go in the long bore you with about how that come around, but
I'd be interested
maybe
to
so.
know.
That's why I wanted to go kind of anonymous.
How did it come around?
How did it come around?
Well,
I wrote the book or I got it out there?
Both.
Okay.
How to get it out there?
Well, yeah, I got it out there. I just wrote it out in pen 3 times till someone could read it, sent it out to a typist. She typed it out, and I just went online to New Zealand publishers, and I just fired it out to about 7 different publishers, and none of them wanted it. I got the letter back saying, oh, no, as much as we kind of liked your book, we don't think it's suitable for general public. I was like, great.
QED, yeah.
Huh. Then I was going to burn it, and then next minute, Exile Ian White, he rang me up and he wanted a meeting, and then it happened from there.
And this is Exile Publishing that's put it out. When you were actually writing it, did you know from day one when you started writing that you would try and get it published, or was it to begin with an internal record, a record just for you?
Yeah, it was my way of trying to self-heal myself, and I didn't take 100% safety in that, knowing that I've done my life all this far and I kind of done just about everything wrong except for create beautiful kids. But it was to keep myself from it's just too emotional, I had no one to bore my crap onto. Jennifer wasn't there, so I could hound her, and when I started writing it, I realised I had that much stuff going on in my head, I was even thinking, poor Jennifer, I burdened her with all my problems of my life and the way how low I feel of myself.
The interesting thing about the book, as I said before, is that it's sort of written in real time, so you can go with you in the struggle. It's a hugely difficult thing to work out what you're feeling and what you're thinking. It's to bring it out from the internal to the external. Yeah. You've explained it extraordinarily well.
I could never write that book again. When I started, I was fully emotional. God, I didn't know what was going on. And then slowly, as I keep doing whatever I was doing through that book, the change was all happening. Like when I wrote that book...
I tell you, it is so refreshing, JJ, to read it, because one is so accustomed to reading autobiographical books in recollected, people put patterns on them that really never existed. The fact that you're really feeling it as you're writing it is extraordinarily powerful.
Well, yeah, I guess it's the whole life of thinking I could never do anything and all that. I'm kind of proud of it in the fact it's been the first thing I've ever done in my life and completed, actually. But when I got through to the end of my book, what's hard for me, it's all right being an outside reader and just to take what you can, whatever you can from it, or however you walk away from my book. But when I think back and read back further to the beginning, I think I was a bloody idiot, It's hard for me to not think you're full, and that's what I used to think through most of my life, and what pressure I put on people and Jennifer and trying to help when, only just kind of realising it was me to help myself or to get the help that whatever help I got. So it's hard. That's why I want to put that book behind me, because it's shattering. I kind of learnt now what maybe people was taught to learn from the get-go. Yeah. And I feel like I'm about 20 steps behind people when I thought I was a clever chump. Hey, I was just an idiot. It's hard to face. Hey.
Well, I don't know. You did a crash course in the whole thing, and you're streets ahead of most people at this point, I would have thought. Yeah, there were a lot of agencies involved.
Yeah.
In your recovery. There was SIF, and there was Family Court, and there was Parent Line, and there was marriage counselling. Were they all necessary, or can you think, when you think back, was there a better way to have dealt with you? Was there a more helpful way?
Funny enough, most of those things kind of took a step back give us a bit of direction and wanted to see where we were going to go with it. Jennifer and I were totally shocked with SIBS and everything. They kind of, they already had their prejudged thing because, as soon as you kind of do a crime like that, well, there's a whole lot of protocols.
Machinery starts, that's right.
But they kind of took a step back and we just fired out those things that I decided to do in my book just to show them we're, scared, for the first drop of the hat that our kids might get taken, or, they would never get taken off Jennifer, but they're already out of my hands, we're going to give them whatever it took just to show them we're going to, not going to be in this position in X amount of time to come. So,
you didn't do everything that they wanted, though. Sis wanted you to talk to a psychologist, and you said, no, I've had enough of a psychologist.
Did you read the end of my book? I'm sure I said I done the psychologist bit.
Eventually.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Yeah. It was hard. It was, I did do it. And I think I just make things up, replay a scenario in my head so many times that I make it harder than what it was.
Yeah.
I just figured, and even now, today was hard for me. I was nervous as, and I didn't hear bad things about you, but I hear you. Oh, no, wait. I hear you.
Don't go
there. No, I wouldn't go there.
An incisive
Don't go
But I'll tell you what, I was nervous, but then everything comes down to nothing was ever as painful as when I hurt Jennifer, and I wasn't allowed near the hospital, so I get arrested. None of the family would talk to me, and I didn't have my kids. So everything else is really just...
piece of cake.
Yeah, well, for sure. I
Actually.
think I just got to take a bit more confidence in myself and just do it. I'm enjoying my time here. And
You've always worked, eh?
Oh, always worked.
I mean, that's
yeah.
another blow to the stereotype, because a lot of people will go, the violent guys, and they're on the dole, and they do the... But you've always worked. You've always provided for your family.
Yeah, I think the big thing is that, because my father didn't. We were on the DPB, we'd eat good one week, and we'd, I'd have to rob or do something to eat good the next week.
Do you think that you always working enabled you to think, well, I'm not like my father, when in fact in huge ways you were, but you were able to forget about those bits?
Yeah, I don't know. I know you want an answer for that. I don't know. I think I work just so... I just want bread and milk on the table,
Yeah.
Then when my kids... I
That's
just want
right.
the kids to try to live healthy, whether or not they're lacking out on other things in life. No, it's just a case of working, Everyone's got to work. I wasn't going to be anything different. Plus, I guess it took care of my day, took care of thinking time I had through, whatever. It was just occupy myself and maybe give Jennifer a break from me for 8 hours of a day. I don't know. I always work till I die. I guess I have nothing, so I just got to work.
How typical is JJ's story, Celia?
It's incredibly typical, I think, but at the same time, and I'm grateful to you for picking up so clearly about the extraordinary skill that he had in writing this in a way that that was in the present. So we were able to travel through the stuff with him, and I fully understand his sense of. I look at the beginning and think, can't go there anymore. And he couldn't write that book now. So the general thread is that he's incredibly typical. At the same time as there's a particular spirit in him, a particular thing that happened that, and a lot of synchronistic moments, if you like, where people became involved at crucial times, and I pick up that there's a thread that he did have a sense that he had a choice.
I mean, the thing is, excuse us talking about you as if you're not here,
And
JJ,
no,
but I'm looking
is.
at JJ. He's a hell of a nice guy.
He is a hell of a nice guy.
I mean, I like him so much. Would I always have liked him? Would he always have been able to present himself like this, even in the dark days?
I suspect so. I mean, that's a really interesting point, Kim. I mean, walking the wings of prisons and meeting men who've committed fairly heinous crimes, and there's very few of them I didn't like.
No.
When you look in their eyes,
Women
there's a
fall in
gorgeous
love with
full-
them, want to marry them.
Well,
It's the
no,
most
well, yeah,
extraordinary
some of
thing.
that stuff's a bit concerning, but more the point of the gorgeous people that they are. Like my sense is every adult, every child's born full of magic, and you're seeing some of JJ's magic, and he's had an opportunity to bring it out. He is, in my mind, he's typical, and in no way does that belittle. He's not typical in that he's managed to put this down, and he's now, despite incredible nervousness, and he's taken a lot of persuasion through the whole process to even be here and to even write the book.
Yeah, I
or to
figured
finish
that, but you've warmed
But he's
up,
come through
JJ.
it. He has warmed
In fact,
up.
I haven't been able to shut you up for the last half hour.
Yeah, so that's cool. But I guess the other comment that I would make, and just in something you said, and taking the opportunity while it's there, is when you asked JJ what stops him from falling back, he made reference, he didn't delve into it very much, but he made reference to the pain that he suffered as a little boy sits with him all the time. Not, yes, he's sorry for what he did to Jennifer, and yes, the adult stuff's there, but sitting with him all the time. He's opened up the door to the pain of himself as a child. And that's the real key, that's the real gift that we have, is that when we can bring forward those memories and people get the strength to live in that memory, not to roll around in it. He's not in self-pity.
No,
but
clearly not.
But a part of who he is every day is that there's in my visual sense, there's a room in his life that the door was shut and locked, and that was his childhood and the crying, holding his brother crying while his mother was being beaten, and holding his mother while she cried. So that door was locked and padlocked, and what he's done is he's opened it, and the door's open, and there's fresh air moving through it, and he doesn't spend a lot of time in that room, but it's a part of the rooms of his life. And so that's the gift that he's given us, or he's given me, is that reinforcement of my perception that how we beat these incredibly negative statistics, how we get so depressed in New Zealand. We've got shocking stats, and everyone talks about it all the time. And I live in eternal hope. I've never lost the hope because of this is the way forward. Men like JJ, a man like JJ has stood up and has shown us that actually there's a way out of this. Now the question will be, whether people can learn the lesson. But he's done his piece. He deserves now to go back to his life.
You do, and I wish you well on that. I don't want you to have huge pressure put on you to be a trophy guy. Guy.
Because I'd feel like a hypocrite. Honestly, I guess until the day I forgive myself and about it, I feel like don't bloody listen to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's got extraordinary humility.
If you got I was told at a very young age that I was an angry boy and I should get some help, and it'd be like if they told me before this happened, I'd tell you, get away, okay. Things ain't that bad, mate. No. We're dealing with it.
Is every day like, what AA, one day at a time? Is it like that for you, or are you okay? You're on solid ground now?
Yeah, I'm trustworthy.
Oh, good.
I'm hanging out for this to finish and go to Te Papa Museum and check out Wellington. No, it's not a case of trying to hang out for another smack in the head or something, or it's
that's fantastic to trust yourself like that.
Yeah, well, I've always set myself up to fail. I've always set myself up to sabotage my life. And sometimes if I start drifting back, I think maybe I've done that book for my biggest sabotage to myself, but it's not ending up that way. I think I read too much into it, But no, it's quite easy because I know what's important to me.
And he's got 3 boys who will not be abusers and a little girl who will not choose a bad partner.
Well, the best thing is there is good things about me, and I'm not a piece of shit like I always thought. You know what I mean? That's the hardest thing for me to understand. And I just never tried at anything in life because I always thought I'd fail, but I don't seem to fail. So I'm all right. Hey, I've never said that before, but I'm okay. Yes. That's why I wanted anonymous, so people might go, "Oh no, I know that fella, and he's not okay." But forget your all, eh? Like, I just no.
Will you sign your book for me?
Yeah, you sure?
Yeah. Here's a pen. Thank you so much for coming in, JJ Joseph, who's the author of a book called "Fighting for My Life" that is really worth reading, and Celia Lashlie of the Good Man Project.